welcome back to my channel. It's me, Liz. Today we are going to talk about intermittent fasting, which I will be referring it as IF for the rest of the video. So this is a long overdue video. I did IF back in August of 2020, and to anyone who's not very familiar with IF, it is basically an eating pattern that cycles through a fasting and eating period. So you basically eat for a period of time and then you fast for a period of time. And the most popular method is the 16/8 method, which is you fast for 16 hours and you eat for 8 hours. And that's what I did. I ate from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. and 8 p.m. to the next day, I fasted. So that's what it is. That's what IF is. It's just a fasting and eating period cycle. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm putting down? I'm using too many hand motions. I'll stop. Unless you guys want me to keep using them. Okay, let's not do that. Before we dive into this very exciting IF experience of mine, I do want to just let you guys know, remind you guys that IF works very differently for everyone because of how different we are as individuals. So my experience may be very different from other people's experience out there, but I just want to share what I went through and hopefully it can help someone out there. All right, let's jump right in. So I did IF before back in freshman year of college, and it worked for my lifestyle perfectly, which is why I decided to do it again this time around. And the main reason was that I wanted to find a solution to help me curb and control my cravings, especially my night cravings. I noticed I wasn't exactly doing my best at intuitive eating. I was just snacking because I was bored, because it was movie night, because I just wanted to, and it did not make me feel good physically. Yes, it was yummy, I enjoyed it very much, but the next day I would always feel so groggy, I would always feel so bloated, and I just did not feel good. I didn't feel my best, I didn't feel energized. So I was craving and eating all these type of foods at night and not really paying attention to how my body was reacting to it. So I decided to try IF again. And the reason why I tried it again was because it worked for me before, so it must work again, right? Wrong. One thing that I completely missed and did not take into consideration was that my lifestyle changed. My lifestyle back in freshman year of college is so different from my lifestyle now. Back then in freshman year of college, I was not working out at all, really. I went to the gym 3 to 4 times throughout the entire duration of my freshman year. That's how different it is. That's one thing, right? The second thing is that back then I was eating high calorie foods and in higher volumes. So that within itself is just so different from my lifestyle now and the foods that I eat now. And third thing was that back then I was going out a lot more. I was eating out with friends, we were partying, we were living that college life, and they're just like, snacks everywhere, especially during those midterm and final seasons where we're all a little stressed, so food becomes comfort food. So in general, I was just eating a lot more, I was not working out, and that's why IF worked so well for me. Even though I had 8 hours to eat, I was getting enough energy and enough nutrients. So with all of those factors, that's why IF worked for me so well back then. But now my lifestyle is so different. It's just such a huge lifestyle change, and I didn't really consider this when I started doing IF. And now I'm going to get into my actual experience with IF. So in the beginning, it worked perfectly fine. It worked very well. I felt amazing. I looked amazing. Everything was just going smooth sailing, and I was like, oh yeah, this is working again. Like, I'm back on track. Come on. My dog is walking, if you can hear his pitter-patter. Come on, baby. I was working out, I was drinking water, I was, eating within my time frame from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. and fasting for the rest of the 16 hours. Also, my cravings went away, which is, great because that was the reason why I started doing IF. Everything was just good. It was good. So I can perfectly say that everything was perfect until it wasn't. Into a month of doing IF, I started to notice something that was off. I noticed my cravings were gradually increasing, and it was worse than when I first started IF. So that kind of threw me off. I was like, what? That's weird. I started IF to help control my cravings, but now my cravings are coming back. And I was thinking, oh, maybe it's my period, because when the time of the month comes, I can eat everything. I can eat the whole house. I can eat mochi. I'm just kidding, I would not eat you. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is probably because my period's coming and I'm just craving since that is so normal. But then my period didn't come. And I was like, oh shit. And that was a big red flag to me because I take my period very seriously, and as any women should, we should all really take our period seriously. It's not just about fertility and reproduction. Our periods affect our overall health. So as someone who has very normal and regular periods, when it didn't come that month, I got very worried. I was like, oh wait, what's wrong? Like, something's not right. But I still didn't really think too much about IF because at the time, that was when school was about to start and I was working out a lot. There were many stress factors and external factors that were probably affecting my body. I didn't really consider the fact that IF could be causing this problem. So I continued doing IF into the month of September to October. And during this month, my cravings were getting worse. I was craving foods that I wouldn't usually crave for, like sweets, high calorie foods, a lot of carbs, and just so much snacking. And I was just so confused. I still thought that it was because of everything that was happening in my life that was causing this to happen. And I was like, okay, this is fine, it's normal, it's gonna pass. It's no big deal. But my period didn't come again this month, and this was when I realized, okay, it's probably because of IF because it didn't come for a second time. And so I did a lot of research and found reasons why IF just did not work for me and why it stopped my period. I just thought that IF was a way of eating and a lifestyle choice, but it's a lot more than that. So first things first, why IF didn't work for me, and I talked about this already in the beginning of the video, was because of a lifestyle change. So I didn't realize that this lifestyle change of mine would change the way that IF impacted my body. And like I mentioned already in the beginning of the video, it was a huge lifestyle change, and I didn't realize that until after I tried IF the second time and I lost my period. So that's one thing why IF just didn't work for me. And the second reason why IF didn't work for me, and this is more of a generalization of why it doesn't work for some women, is because us women, we are more sensitive to IF. We are more sensitive to changes in our energy intake, to our nutrients intake, and that affects our menstrual cycle. So our bodies are just more sensitive to those type of things. So one thing that can cause a change in energy intake is consuming less foods, which was my case. I was just consuming less food. I was not eating enough, and I was just not getting enough nutrients and energy, and that caused me to have a lower body fat percentage, which caused me to have issues and to lose my period. So having a lower body fat percentage, lower than your usual body fat percentage, your body assumes that you're not consuming enough energy and nutrients. So it tries to prevent your reproductive process from happening to protect you from the harm that pregnancy may bring if you have a low body fat percentage. And that was my case. And another reason why IF stopped my period was because, again, the change in my energy intake, but that affected my hormones, especially my estrogen levels. So estrogen is not just for fertility and reproduction. It affects our overall body because there are estrogen receptors throughout our entire body. It affects our bones, our brains, our moods, everything about a woman. So this hormone is very important, and because I was just not consuming enough, I was not getting enough energy, my estrogen levels were just so out of whack, and that just caused my entire body to go out of whack. It was just, everything was wrong. I did not feel okay. So that was another reason why IF just didn't work. It threw all of my hormone levels off, and I ended up whack. And for the very last reason why IF did not work for me and why it may not work for some women out there, this compares why IF works so differently between women and men. And this is because women in general consume less protein than men. And at first glance, most people are like, oh, that's not a problem, like it's just protein, like what about it? But protein provides amino acid, and amino acid is a crucial component in our reproductive system. So when we're not consuming enough protein, we don't have enough amino acid. And for women, when our amino acid levels are very low, it negatively affects our estrogen levels, as well as another hormone called the insulin-like growth factor, or IGF-1. Both of these hormones are needed to thicken the linings of our uterus during our periods. And when we don't have enough of these hormones, the lining cannot be thickened and a period just cannot occur. It's just not possible. So that is why for some women, when we do IF, our periods don't come because of all of these factors I've listed so far. It's just a lot of things, and all of these things happen to me. So that was a really good learning experience. And there are just so many more factors out there why IF may not work for some people and why our periods can stop. So I suggest you guys to do more research on your own time to get a better understanding of IF and our own body and our reproductive system, because that bitch down there, she's important. I know that was a lot of information, so to wrap it all up, women in general are very sensitive to the change in energy intake and in nutrient intake. Anything that has to do with our reproductive system should not be taken lightly because it affects our overall health. So it's just a very important thing to keep in mind all the time. So to conclude everything, IF just did not work for me because of all the things that I've listed, all because I was not eating enough foods during my feeding period. I was just not eating enough calories and enough energy. So I stopped after the month of October and I didn't get my period back until December 13, 2020. So it took me 2 months to get my period back. And ever since then, it's been back to normal. It's been good. I feel like myself again, and I do not regret anything from this experience. I've learned so much about my body and I feel even closer to her than I've ever been before. So this was a very good learning opportunity for me. And I also want to mention that when I decided to stop doing IF, I knew that I was going to gain weight and I was completely okay with that. I did not give a I just wanted my body back and I wanted her to be okay again. I wanted to be healthy and I didn't want to put so much stress on her. So if I gained weight, I didn't care. And I did. I gained weight. I gained like 3-4 pounds, whatever. And I feel so good. For anyone out there who's afraid of gaining weight, I just want to remind you that that number does not define us. It is the boringest thing about someone. We spend so much time fixating on this number and worrying about what others will think of us if you weigh a certain amount that we lose focus on what's important, and that is just our general overall health and how we feel. And I always say this, just feel good, like that's it. It's just such a boring attribute about someone, and I don't want you guys to think that your weight is what's gonna define you, because it does not define you one bit. But yeah, that's the end of my IF journey. I hope my experience helped you guys in some way. If you're on the fence about doing IF, I highly recommend you to do more research. And most importantly, just remember to eat intuitively. If your body is hungry, you should just react to it. You should provide the nutrients it needs. Just listen to your body because it's never wrong. Alright guys, if you made it to the end of this video, then I'm very happy because this video was packed with very important information and I hope it can help you guys in some way. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.